Very much interested in what I would call visual literacy. I'm now going to insult you. I think most people are visually illiterate. Visually illiterate. Visually illiterate. There is an amazing, amazing language out there, and I want to be deeply, deeply associated with it.
We can spend the future together.
I will let you know what the results are.
I think it's self-evident about the work that I've probably been doing in the last 10 years that I have really associated myself with the digital revolution. I hold some rather unpopular views about the cinema, which maybe are not always politically advisable to express, but I sincerely believe that cinema is now dead. That is probably shocking news for all those people who still have a nostalgic excitement about Casablanca. Cinema has had an extremely good innings. It was invented in 1895, and apparently still it is around us. But all of us in this room, whatever our position vis-a-vis cinematic nostalgia, knows that cinema is on a huge change. The biggest change that always strikes me is related to notions of what I call technological aesthetics. The actual manufacturing processes of cinema have drastically changed. We have thrown away celluloid and we've adopted essentially a television medium of tape. And I think also that it's been associated with a very large notion of political democracy. You know, at large in the world, there is a new triumvirate, a new God the Father, a new God the Son, a new God the Holy Ghost. You have all got mobile phones, God the Father, you have all got laptops, God the Son, and I suspect you've also got camera recorders. There are certainly at least 8 cameras in this room who are all tape-based, so very much related to new media. So with this new triumvirate, and if you're all good theologians, you will know it's been the attempts of Christianity to reunite and organize these things as one singular entity, and very soon the screen, either on your laptop or in your sitting room, will dominate everything. Some people are very regretful about this. Some people are very anxious about it, thinking it is the new big brother which is going to control us all. But I'm absolutely convinced that I have a pen in my pocket. It's not a pen, it's actually a pencil. Very, very simple object. And there is a way in which the digital revolution is no more complicated than this pen in which I'm holding in my hand. All of you, I'm sure, are highly literate, both in terms of writing and speaking, and it's only another form of communication. But I will say it is an extraordinary and amazing phenomenon, and it changes, as you well know, every afternoon. And I want to be in amongst that language. Language is really associated deeply with all forms of communication, and so the communication is deeply associated with the technological revolution.
100 objects to represent the world. 100 objects to represent the world. 100 objects to represent the world. 100 objects to represent the world.
Despre Peter Greenaway s-a spus că este un dirijor de imagini și un misionar al artei cinematografice interactive. Cel mai recent proiect, Live Cinema VJ Performance, Lupa Cyclopedia, se bucură de un succes imens în toată lumea. În ultimii 4 ani a călătorit în 14 țări, în Europa și America, iar săptămâna aceasta ajunge și la București.
Visually illiterate. Visually illiterate. And most people are visually illiterate.
100 objects to represent the world. 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 100 objects to represent the word 100 objects.
Este un spectacol complet interactiv, nu mai există spectator și artist, sunt toți la un loc, tocmai de aceea sistemul, dispunerea ecranelor și domnul Peter Greenaway împreună cu DJ-ul Hubert Bun vor fi în centrul publicului, dumneavoastră putând să umblați de la un ecran la altul și practic să vă construiți propriul film.
Cinema is now dead. Cinema is now dead. But I'm convinced that there's no reason to cry tears over the death of cinema, because what happens next is going to be so much more interesting.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. That's not true at all.
I'm sure you're all becoming extremely sophisticated and aware of all the new inventions of the digital revolution that are virtually happening every afternoon. When you watch for the next 50 minutes or so, remember these two characteristics. Cinema as a present tense phenomenon and cinema as a multi-screen experience. As a multi-screen experience.
A girl and a boy, 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 a girl.
I am a prisoner at war. I am a prisoner at war. I am a prisoner at war. I am a woman who loved an older man unwisely. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman who loved an older man unwisely. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman. There was a beautiful woman who loved an older man unwisely. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman who loved an older man.
Development, an unnecessary E in 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 development, an unnecessary E.
visually illiterate. Visually illiterate. And most people are visually illiterate.
100 objects to represent the world. 100 objects to represent the world. 100 objects.
Originally, I suppose now, 32 years ago, I made my first films very much from a painter's point of view, very much with the desire to communicate visually. And what we have produced, I suppose, has been suggested on this table, and what we hope to be able to excite you and fascinate and maybe even educate you is this phenomenon which we will present this evening, which loosely we call, I suppose, a form of non-narrative, multi-screen, non-illustrative language. That sounds very pompous, and I need to make an apology for that, but I suppose it's loosely associated with a phenomenon which I already suspect you know, which is the idea of the VJ, video jockeying. Somebody who does with pictures what disc jockeys do with sound. But that's a phenomenon that's very much associated with discotheques and popular music and popular entertainment. That I think the actual medium and the technology associated with this phenomenon has a much greater future than to be simply visual wallpaper in a smoky underground discotheque selling you hip-hop music. What we've tried to do is to take the parameters and I suppose the general appreciation of multi-screen entertainment and begin to push and pull it into new, and I hope, very sophisticated direction.
Class binoculars, made in Germany, with a pair of first-class quality class binoculars, made in Germany, with a pair of first-class quality class binoculars, made in Germany. Quality class binoculars, made in Germany, with a pair of first-class quality class binoculars, made in Germany.
And I think your people and my people aren't seeing eye to eye. And I think your people and my people.
suntem în fața unei noi experiențe artistice provocatoare, dirijată nu din spatele unui pupitru, ci chiar din mijlocul audienței de către un maestru multimedia. Peter Greenaway, bine ați revenit in Romania. Welcome once again to Romania and to Bucharest.
Thank you.
And to my house.
Thank you. I think it is. It fits, I suppose, the definition of your film festival. It is still experimental. It is searching still for a grammar, a syntax, and a vocabulary. But I do sincerely believe that it is fascinating and educated. And I also suspect it might be associated very much with a cinema that we shall have in the next 20 or 30 years.
Având o puternică orientare educațională, BIEFF este primul și singurul eveniment din România dedicat filmului de avangardă și arte vizuale și are drept scop promovarea creațiilor inovatoare a unor artiști cu viziuni profund personale asupra realității contemporane. Timp de 4 zile, la cinematograful Scala, publicul va avea acces gratuit la cele mai îndrăznețe filme ale anului, atât din punct de vedere estetic, cât și al conținutului, filme unicat, adevărate lecții de cineva, care aduc în lumină posibilitățile nelimitate ale limbajului filmic.
Toate experimentele care șochează acum și care până în ziua de astăzi provoacă uimire, uneori atracție, uneori respingere, peste câtva timp le vor găsi în filmele obișnuite, vor deveni obișnuite și intră deja în istorie. Toate filmele adevărate, puternice, au fost cândva experimentale.
Aina kunnollinen.
Kahden suoran yhdensuuntaisuusehto. Niillä joko ei ole laisinkaan yhteisiä pisteitä, tai sitten ne yhtyvät täydellisesti.
That take the risk to promote this kind of cinema, and we try to collaborate with them.
We think, okay, it's a nice piece.
They have some new ideas.
And we start in a very big way.
Working on finding an audience is also very important.
The important thing that the same group of the people was responsible for the selection of short film and the feature films.
And build your audience. That's also working on finding an audience is also very important. So I think I agree with Miguel that I think such a more the sandwich-like formula, it works to find a broader audience. You need this also to have an experimental film and a fiction film, an animation, documentary, experimental. So you don't have. You can go around all these presumptions of, well, experimental film, it's not for me, you know. So you just get the people in, and then they will see that it is for them. It is for everybody who loves film, because it is the most filmic film there is.
Ce înseamnă experimental? Pentru mine, sau pentru ce am încercat să fac în filmul ăsta, experimentul este în încercarea de a intra în mintea unui bolnav psihic și de a încerca să o interpretezi, să o redai și să transmiți lumea asta paralelă și distorsionată pe care o are el, să o transmiți publicului și să încerci să ajungi la ea.
Avioero lapselle ei käy tässä maailmassa hyvin. Täytyy yrittää olla kunnollinen. Eivät juo viinaa eivätkä polta tupakkaa. Kunnolliset ihmiset syövät päivässä 2 lämmintä ateriaa, jossa on kaikkia ruokaympyrän aineita. He syövät lautasen aina tyhjäksi, eivätkä puhu ruoka suussa. Kunnollisten ihmisten lapset ovat siistejä ja ystävällisiä.
Olla aina kunnollinen.
2 suoran yhdensuuntaisuusehto. Niillä joko ei ole laisinkaan yhteisiä pisteitä, tai sitten ne yhtyvät täydellisesti.
Like a professor, of course we teach students to make the rules of the film
to make film, but myself, I push them to dare to make something new and to pass the boundary of the classical film, to have courage. Even they make mistakes, of course, but a repetitive mistake can be a style.
But also about the current situation of financing and distribution for experimental films in Romania.
To make an experiment, my friend, was equal like a Swiss. My English is not so good, and I'm very shy.
In the general program, we already
our years ago, what's quite impossible to think of experimental film here in Romania.
In fact,
why? Half a century here, we made only films to reflect our socialist realities. To make an experiment was equal like a Swiss, this like a Swiss.
So we are sorry, we have to program this very low cost.
From Austria, and we have like focus on different filmmakers, and I think it would be a good idea to also have retrospectives, because young filmmakers might think that they have some new ideas, but I can guarantee you most of the things have been done before, so you don't have to invent these things again and again. And we also decided to have we call it a venue called Fest Art, where we have done some installations, mainly from the past, but also recent ones. We have had Gustav Deutsch and Harun Farocki, who you might have known. And I think it's important also for filmmakers who do more traditional stuff to see these different ways of making films to get ideas.
I danced. I remember that past with the grandiose poeticisms of an old woman, moments of exuberant abandon and spontaneous surrender to the glamour of movement. The claustrophobic, packed-in feeling and the rationed air. We also wanted the option to stretch our bodies in whichever direction we chose.
Just get these houses.
Space.
Come to the township.
In backyards and passageways, mastering the choreography of confinement.
I think experimental film, actually for the beginning, it could not be defined actually. I think maybe the experimental film are the films that are searching for other ways of dealing with the world, or of looking to what's around us, and that maybe they would escape to any kind of definition. I like to think more in that way than to try to look for a trace that could be in none of them. Yeah.
Evident că este un film, în general, non-narrativ, care folosește un limbaj cinematografic, evident, inovator și care folosește și alte mijloace de expresie, cele obișnuite.
But I don't think you're going to get anywhere special much before it gets really black.
This phenomenon, which loosely we call, I suppose, a form of non-narrative, multi-screen, non-illustrative language.
You talk about non-linear, which I tend to think more into terms of single screen or multiple screen. So I mean, to stay with an idea of what we can do as a festival program, for instance in Venice, I have to deal with work that they need to be screened on one single channel, so let's say traditional projection, so with a beginning and an end, and on one single screen, which is a limitation, but it also helps to define and focus on what I'm searching and what I want to tell with the program. I think recently there's been a lot of many festivals, a lot of talking about this art, visual art, audio-visual art, and let's say artists' films or moving images made by non-traditional film directors. That they all belong to film festival as well, and we can make friends and we can have the same contact, or film festival should explore that domain. But I think it has been a bit simplified, this thing. It's not just because it's moving image that it really can migrate from what they call the white black boxes from one to the other. And I think it's perhaps more interesting in this case, for me at least, to still see the differences.
The right place, Locarno. It was really open since always to accept new stuff. And I had a crazy, amazing experience. And we were working to bring into the cinema the films and the video that were directed only for the installations. And this worked very well. Of course, we decided to put in a special small theater to invite the video artist, to ask to the video artist to collaborate with us and to create some special installation connected with the theater, the literature, the photograph, the cinema, the music, somewhere in the town, in the place.
Fact that, I hope as well, but actually in Venice, for instance, it's a strange situation because the festival is part of the Venice Biennial, which is also organizing the Art Biennial. So this could be seen as something that makes things easier, but on the opposite, we are not supposed, with the film program we do for the festival, to do anything that is dealing with installations or multiple screen works that really belong to the art biennial field, let's say, of interest. Then I'm not so sure that festival have to do that, and I think it's perhaps more interesting in this case, for me at least, to still see the differences, because when you see differences, you also see the specifics.
I like very much to be here. I like to go to see the selection more radical of Orizzonti in Venice. I like to move from one space to the other. I like it very much, the performance by Peter Greenaway, that by the way did a sort of this kind of stuff in small way many years ago in Locarno. Or now, for example, I'm working for a specific project for film director that want to do video installations and for video artists that want to shoot a movie. So if you want, I can talk about this kind of experience that I did myself, because on certain point I found out, that I was more attractive by something that is somewhere in between, is not really defined, not in the cinema, not in the visual, and so to work on this line is very, very interesting and exciting.
Class, quality class binoculars, made in Germany, made in Germany, with a pair of first class, quality class binoculars, made in Germany, made in Germany, with a pair of first class, quality class binoculars, made in Germany.
And I think your people and my people aren't seeing eye to eye.
There is a way, I suppose, when I talked to audiences 10 years ago, and asked young people of the laptop generation what they wanted to do, they would have said that they all wanted to be film directors. I've never, ever understood why that should be so attractive, but it's too late now. It's no good you being film directors now because the film phenomenon is now finished. But I'm sure you're all becoming extremely sophisticated and aware of all the new inventions of the digital revolution that are virtually happening every afternoon.
So we don't really see instant cinema as an website. But we wanted to do more with it.
And there's something else I want to say, that we are, I work for the Film Institute in Amsterdam, and we are just moving to a new building. Now we have the very luxurious position that there is an exhibition space and there are theaters. So there's something I want to do there within the first few months. I want to have the day of one film title, show it in the exhibition space, show it in the cinema room, show it on the telephones of everybody, show it outside on the building itself, and then we do like a kind of scientific experiment. What does it really mean to see a film in different ways? So I want a lot of people with white coats walking around and doing electrical energy, do interviews with people. What does it mean to see it in this way or in that way? And I will let you know what the results are.
It's finished, so it's still a website online that's...
And I think the only witness might be
Just eat the ice cream. When you watch for the next 50 minutes or so, remember these two characteristics. Cinema as a present tense phenomenon, and cinema as a multi-screen experience.
100 objects to represent the world. 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 100 objects.
Story 8. Story 8. Story 8. One more comment. I actually started my life as a painter. I believe painting is perhaps the most profound way in which we can organize communication. And that means I'm very much interested in what I would call visual literacy. I'm now going to insult you. I think most people are visually illiterate. And that's not your fault. It's the fault of the education of the world. We have a text-based society. We have a text-based cinema. I don't think anybody in this room has ever really seen a film. All you've seen is 115 years of illustrated text. No filmmaker ever makes a film without originating from text. So very largely, 95% of cinema for me is illustrated text. It's a relationship with a bookshop. And I've long believed that has to change. Text and linguistics have many, many languages in which to express themselves. Why can't we have a medium which is essentially and absolutely about visual communication?
There was a beautiful woman who loved an older man wisely. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful woman who loved an older man.
landscape
exploitation, landscape exploitation, and began to consider two matters: landscape exploitation, landscape exploitation, landscape exploitation.
People are offering me amazing opportunities to explore all this language. I still make films, I still direct operas, I still am interested in the theatre, and I'm certainly interested in everything to do in association with notions of television. Only another form of communication. Only another form of communication. Language, technological aesthetics, cinema, visual communication. Fascinating and educated.
100 objects represent the world.